Good morning. This is Bill from Auto Europa Naples on a mercifully peaceful Friday morning. So far, nobody's come in to annoy me. Marty did walk by, and he's got a cast. Well, not a cast. He's got a sling on because he had very dangerous surgery yesterday to remove a a bone spur. So, a lot of trouble there. I told him a lot of guys, who go in to get that operation, they die right on the table if they're not just maimed. They have made some great advancements in prosthetics, but you just never know. And very often they operate on the wrong arm altogether. But despite all my warnings, it seems he came through with flying colors and is going to be back at his post today, which is just terrific, which means I don't have to answer the phone and be crabby and angry with people. So it works out pretty nice. I do have some birds. Well, I got one now. There's like 7 earlier, if I can zoom in. This one, they left him just to keep an eye on me. If I do something he doesn't like, he's going to call them all back and they'll come and peck my eyes out. I sure hope not. Anyway, sorry, I know this is all tedious. Let's just get into the car. This is one of my favorite cars, and not necessarily this generation Mercedes S, which frankly isn't one of my favorite S-classes, but I love 6-cylinder S-classes. I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but I do. The short wheelbase 6-cylinder S-class has just been a perennial favorite of mine ever since having a 126 300 SE. I had picked it up at the sale. This is going back 25 years ago. Well, maybe not that long, 20. And I loved that thing. I put a paint job on it. It was silver and blue, and I drove the hell out of it. And every time I see a 6-cylinder S-Class, I get excited. Unfortunately, most of them from this vintage and from the earlier vintages are all crap, so very rare that I can actually buy one and play with it. This car, when I found it, was mint. Whoever had this thing was an absolute freak, somebody that you just wouldn't want to hang out with, but you definitely want to get a car off him because he sure keeps it nice. This is, again, the W220. That's the internal Mercedes designation for this generation of S-Class. It followed the very controversial 140 car, and the problem with the 140 car, if you consider it a problem, was that it was the pursuit of building the ultimate big sedan with no holds barred, no costs barred, and the pursuit of perfection, which, some could argue they attained, and other people say it was the most overbuilt, complicated, ridiculous S-Class of all time. I fall somewhere in the middle of that. I absolutely love the 140s, but, they do terrify me a little bit in terms of some of their systems. I don't have the same terror of the 220s, particularly not with the 6-cylinder like this one. But anyway, you can see the back door is short. This is a short wheelbase version. You could get it in this car, which was a 1-year only car, by the way, or the S430. It was available in either or, but, not too many came to the United States. Virtually, I'd say like 80-90% of them sold here were the big long wheelbase. And, that's a great car, a limousine with big legroom, but it takes away some of the sprightliness that a Mercedes chassis can have, and that really returns with the short wheelbase version. This one is finished in midnight blue outside. Very, very nice color. In fact, probably my second favorite color. I mean, frankly, I think an S-Class should be black because it suits it, but this is close enough to work. I can't believe how straight this thing is. Man, somebody loved this car. But anyway, it was a departure for Mercedes. The 140 was this big, boxy behemoth of a vehicle, lots of creases and angles. In fact, they had to soften it up a little bit with the mid-year refresh. The 220 was designed to be a little bit more, at the time, modern, elegant, smoother, softer on the eyes. And even though it is a slightly smaller car than the 140, it is bigger inside where it matters. So, some folks are going to appreciate that. See those very attractive elliptical lights? This one being an 06, the final year of the W220. It was, enhanced by the facelift that came out, I want to say in 04, 05, and the facelift gave it better looking headlamps up front. They became clear with bi-xenon bulbs behind them, and just look a little bit better than that first gen, which had the kind of the standard Euro lights. You see that big angry Mercedes logo pointing the way. This one also got a bit more of an upright grille than the earlier ones, and frankly, just sometimes the refreshes they do I don't like. You know, I like the W210. I think the first gen W210, which, God, that's another Mercedes people argue about, but I think that was a lot more handsome than the 210 that came after it in 2000. It's like, to me, the second gen just looks like an old lady in a dress or something. The first felt a bit more sporty. See those nice big 5-star alloys. They were bigger this year, lovely. Big LED tail lamps, very, very cool. Let's just get into this thing. So for some reason, this one has a power trunk, you know, even despite being sort of a base model. And I quite like the power trunk, even though I feel a bit lazy using it. But you just press a little pressure pad under the ridge there, and electric motor sort of whirs it on up. You see that has its infant containment net still, so if you got a, you know, baby that you're trying to stuff somewhere, do something with, even up to a toddler probably, you can just stuff them in this thing, close the trunk, and you won't hear from them for a while. Underneath here, you're going to find a full-size spare tire, toolkit, with a neatly folded little cloth gloves for changing the tire. Somebody, oh my God, you know, that came with it, but it came with it in a weird little bag, so this guy folded them up neat and put them on top. So nice to see a Mercedes that still has a bit of a toolkit. Of course, they're going further and further away from that as time goes on. They don't want you touching these things. But anyway, everything lovely in the trunk. It's a nice size trunk. You know, not as big as you might think for an S, but certainly big enough. You do your Costco shopping, or you know, if you're a, you know, head of a Ukrainian crime syndicate, you can throw a body or two back there, and everyone's going to be real happy. And to close it, you just press this guy, and down it comes. The reason I bring up the crime syndicate thing is that is, of course, what the S-Class is all about. I mean, the S is elite transportation for important people, you know, to a large extent. So, you know, if one of these things pulls up, you're not really sure who it's going to be. You know, it could again be the, you know, the Capitan of this crime syndicate, or it could be the, you know, finance minister of Norway. So it's just a car that brings elite people around to where they need to be. Now, this is a 3.7 liter V6. It was not the same one in the E-Class, which is a good thing, because the 06 E-Class 350, the 3.5, had some cam and balance shaft issues that could really screw up your day. They eventually, you know, fixed it, but you got to be a little bit wary of it. But this one, no such problems. This is the 3.7 from the ML. It doesn't quite have the same horsepower as the 3.5, but it's considered a much more bulletproof engine in terms of maintenance. It just doesn't go wrong. You might fix a valve cover leak or something, but as far as the, you know, the mechanicals go, it's absolutely bulletproof. Also made it to Mercedes-Benz bulletproof 5-speed transmission, which shifts flawlessly and has no issues at all. So a terrific drivetrain in this car. You can see this all-Florida car has been very well maintained. There's no corrosion or salty bits anywhere. The engine is just fantastic. Yeah, you know, we cleaned the engines, although it didn't really need it much in this one. But to get an engine that looks this nice, you have to start with one that's already pretty nice. If you try to clean up an old rusty mess, it's still going to look like an old rusty mess. So this just is a testament to how nice this car is. All these bolts, there's no corrosion on them. This is the kind of stuff you want to see when you're looking to buy one of these. You can see the tubes running into the shock towers. That's part of the airmatic suspension this car has, which we'll get into when we get inside and fire it up. I love stuff like this, where the oil filter is right here. It's right here. If you are a guy who changes your own oil, you can get one of those things you connect to shop air, a little sucky tube. Stick the tube down in there, change your oil from right here, fill it from there, and you never have to lift the car to do an oil change. Pretty cool stuff. I do wish they gave you a bigger windshield washer tank, though. I think that's only like 9 gallons. Of course, the Mercedes star, one prong pointing to land, one to sea, and one to air. And they're going to dominate on all of those. Have a look at the back seat, and the phone's ringing. Okay, so back here you don't get the same legroom that you do in the long wheelbase version, but you do get pretty great legroom. I mean, you're fine. The Canadians are not going to be upset. You got places to put your knees, you got places to put your legs, a couple of 6-footers, not really a problem, even 3 of them. So you don't lose much with the short wheelbase version, as much as what I think you gain in terms of handling and manageability and parking and such. So, you know, a lot of that space in the Big S just goes to waste. You're mostly just driving around by yourself, you know, again, unless you have all your lieutenants in the car with their, you know, MP5s getting ready to do a hit. But otherwise, mostly you're just tooling around on your own. The leather is absolutely gorgeous, soft and lovely, Teutonic, you know, not frilly like in a Jaguar, just nice and German. You do get a couple of makeup mirrors up there if you need to powder your nose. You know, your girlfriend in the high heel, she'll be all set. You get this really funky ashtray, which very often they're broken on these cars, but this one's still working nice. So if you're still a smoker back here, you're in good shape. Nice little fit and finish with the real burl wood, the chrome, the bunched leather. You know, I think it is not as high dollar and well engineered in terms of being overbuilt as the 140 is, but it's better than most other cars on the road, so you really can't argue with it. But that is, you know, part of what they did to make the S-Classes a little less insanely priced and a little more serviceable in terms of being a modern, you know, traditionally built vehicle instead of a big crazy overbuilt thing, like the chrome entryway stuff too. This one does have soft closed doors, so you just get them close and they suck themselves in. Very often on poorly maintained cars, or you know, even well-maintained cars where guys feel they can close their own doors, if they break, they don't fix them. So very nice to see all 4 working on this car. I presume that means that either the guy was very, very lucky or didn't mind spending a few bucks on maintenance. All right. I tell you what, let's just hop in. I'll show you this real quick. The beautiful seats. I mean, S-Classes have the finest seats in the industry and always have. You know, I know there's a couple companies out there. One's BM something and the other Audi or whatnot. And, you know, they do make their big Q-ship, you know, sedans. But, you know, compared to the impact of the S-Class, you know, who's heard of them? Oh, I know. I'm going to get flack for that. I don't care. It's true. Everyone knows it. An S-Class is much more of a movie star. You know, you go to one of these spy movies where Tom Cruise is always flying around the place. You go to an embassy, there's going to be an S out front. They're not going to be in an Audi. You know, maybe one of the sub-lieutenants of the crime syndicate's going to pull up in an Audi, but, you know, people are going to scratch their heads. Anyway, all lovely, again with the chrome entryway, beautiful. There is the detailer who did I would grade him a C+ on this detail job, so definitely one of his better jobs. But anyway, very nice cream beige inside, lovely. Over here on the door panel, you have your 52-way power seats with memory, your power mirrors with folding, your power windows. Nice little place here to put a compact 9mm 357 if you need to get out in a hurry and do some damage. Oh God, the comfort of that seat. Now, you saw the way that instrument cluster lit up from the rear. You know, it was all black when we got in the car and then sort of rear illuminated. That, you know, that's something that kind of originated on the Lexus back in 1990. And I think Mercedes robbed that from them, which you have to give a little bit of credit to Lexus for that, because way more often, who the hell wears orange pants and a camouflage hat? I mean, seriously. For the love of God, he obviously hasn't got a subscription to GQ or anything, but anyway, God damn, does he need a woman to dress him? Anyway, you know, that's something they robbed from Lexus, and there it is, all black again. And again, kudos to them for leading the way. It's usually Lexus robbing from Mercedes, always has. All right, that 6 fires right to life with, you know, without that big growl of the 8. And of course it does the irritating beeping at you where the U-boat is sinking. But, you know, it's potent enough. You know, you definitely feel that something potent is fired up, which is just fine. You can see you got your water temp, your fuel, your big 160-mile-an-hour speedo, your tack. You've got just 86,000 miles on this thing, which is terrific. It's good for another 200 or so. Your temperature display. Over there you've got your PRND indicator, so we're in park and comfort mode, and of course the clock. Over here you've got your automatic headlights, which we just put on there. Cruise control switch, which is where it's been in Mercedes for years. Ditto the wipers over there. And a very nice multi-function steering wheel where you can scroll through the different displays and it'll tell you what you're doing. Up here, this row of buttons, you've got, this will turn off the parking sensors if the car's getting towed, or the motion sensing alarm, so it won't be going off on the tow truck as it drives down. This is sport setting. No, this is the aromatic setting. So you can see vehicle rising. It's going to rise a little bit with one red light. And, oh no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry, aromatic, just one setting. So it's got lower and higher. Also with the aromatic in this year, if you're going down the road at 50 or 60 miles an hour on the highway, or 110, whatever the case may be, it's going to slowly drip the car down a little bit more to give you more drag coefficient, or I should say less drag coefficient, and get better fuel mileage on the highway. So it works out pretty cool. This is the sport setting for the aromatic. That's Sport 1, that's Sport 2. That'll go from, you know, ultra comfortable to very comfortable to comfortable. So those are your three settings. If you're looking for some sort of track setting, forget it. Go buy a 911. This is lock and unlock, and inexplicably two distant buttons. You've got your hazard switch there in the middle. Electronic stability program. That's a very advanced traction control that works in conjunction with all the other systems through the CAN bus, but we'll get into that some other year. If the rear headrests are up, we'll lower them with that guy. Nice. Here's Mercedes-Benz Command Unit. That stands for Cockpit Management and Data. In 06, it has the second incarnation of it, which is much, much better. That gives your navigation. If it had Bluetooth or SAT, we'd do it, but I'm sure it doesn't. But anyway, you got a nice big nav unit in, and this one is modern enough to use currently, quite unlike the nav units in the earlier pre-facelift 220s. Down here you have a nice dual side climate control. Works very, very well. Hot side hot, cool side cool, and a nice sort of gated shifter, almost like the old Mercedes, but not quite, but good enough. And nicely hidden passenger airbag off thing here. That's another thing I hate about cars. Or, you know, I don't care if the passenger airbag's on or off. I don't even need to know. I don't have children. I don't want children. I've never had children. So if that's what that's for, it's wasted on me. And I think you should have to click off a box that you have children when you buy a car, so you get that stupid thing there to glow at you. Here you have a nice little spot to put your narcotics. Over here we've got what would have been the phone cradle if it had one, so otherwise it's absolutely useless. You've got a nice little deep pocket there to put another weapon of some sort here, which will be a miracle if it's working. And it is working. That is a miracle, is your cup holder. So you'll be able to put your whiskey in there and whatnot. Open the glove box, nice set of books in a leather case. That's a quick guide on top of it. Everything right where it's supposed to be. Here we have a self-dimming mirror with home link beneath it. SOS, that's Mercedes-Benz M-Brace. It's kind of their version of OnStar. You press that thing and some crabby old German woman's gonna, you know, come on board and ask you what the hell you bothered her for. Sunroof, huge, nice glass, one touch, goes back easily. Put it forward, and again you can see it's glass and lovely. Nice. And also 8 separate airbags in this car. Of course, you've got driver, passenger, then you've got all 4 doors, and then you've got 2 window airbags. So Mercedes-Benz definitely has you covered in the airbag department. Let's go for a spin. If you want to, you can shift this car manumatically by putting it in D. You see now I've moved it to the left and it goes to 1. So 2, 3, 4, and D for 5th. Obviously with this car, just leave the damn thing in D. I mean, you know, let it be what it is. You can't shift any better than this transmission can. I certainly can't. All right, now here again is the thing that I like about these cars. I think that they leave the light quicker. You know, it seems to take a long time for that the V8 long wheelbase cars to kind of spool up and leave. Obviously, they're going to be much faster, 0 to 60, but I think just sort of the instant release from the light, you seem to move a bit quicker off it with the 6-cylinder. The steering, again, it's the same as the Big S, but for whatever reason, it just feels lighter and more nimble to me. This is kind of a car, if you wanted like a really nice E-Class, you might opt for this S350. It's obviously a little bit better on gas than the V8 models, and it does offer the maneuverability from having the short wheelbase. So, you know, parking's a breeze. You don't feel like you're in the Queen Mary going down the highway. It just seems like it's easier to throw this car around, which is part of the reason that I do like these. In the 220, this 6-cylinder was 1 year only. Mercedes was testing the waters on a 6-cylinder S again to see if there was any demand for it. Presumably, since you didn't see many S350s that came out in the 221, the demand wasn't really there, but I'm sure there's a group of dedicated guys like me who actually really love them. So we'll just wait here at the traffic light. Give you some news. I have started the other site and actually have a couple of videos up on it on YouTube. It's just called Audi Europa instead of Audi Europa Naples. When I searched for it, I couldn't find it, so YouTube thinks I'm a nitwit. But anyway, I'll put a link to it in this video somewhere for anyone who, you know, God help them, wants to go see what else is going on. All right, there's a little bit of a growl from that 6. Absolutely does pick the car up and move it just fine. You know, for a big heavy car, that 6 really works, which is interesting. You don't get any feel of like it's lagging or anything, which is very, very nice. You know, the steering is perfection. The braking is terrific. The you know, everything about this car. You just feel like the chairman of the board when you're in an S-Class going down the road. You've got that hood star leading the way. You know, you're looking around you at all the commoners and, you know, thinking about taking the chambermaid to the, you know, to the cabin in the Hamptons this weekend. It's just that kind of car, and I love it. So there it is. Again, this is a 2006 S350, one of the rare short wheelbase 6-cylinder models. 5-speed automatic transmission, very, very nice, and just a flawless, lovely car. This one is in the best condition that I've seen in a 220 in a long, long time. Really nice to get a car from someone who loved it like this. It's also for sale, this one. I just picked it off the lot. It was nicer than, you know, than most and more interesting than some, so I thought I'd put it on the review site and do a review of the damn thing. But if you have an interest in buying it, you know where to go, aenaples.com. I've got some interesting stuff coming up. A buddy of mine just bought an NC Miata Club with an automatic, nightmare, but did put in a 2.5 liter Ford engine, nice upgrade in that car, with a big high pressure turbo where you can dial the boost from like 8 to 20. It's supposed to put like 400 or 500 horse at the wheel, which actually makes me very happy that it's got a shiftable automatic, because by the time you shift the damn thing, you're over revving it manually, at least if you're as, you know, got the reflexes that I do. But anyway, we're gonna do a little special on that one. I'm gonna get that here and drive it around and go through what he did to it, and we're even gonna try to take that to Sebring and do a little PDX in it. I'll try not to put it in a tire wall. I did wreck one of his cars before, but hopefully this time I won't. I digress. So anyway, there it is. Thank you for having a look today. We really appreciate it. We'll try not to attract the attention of this policeman, and we'll see you with the next one. Take care.